Just when I get comfortable with my situation and everything's going okay. Of course I'm broke and I'm in debt. But I wasn't stressed. I'm not stressed. I'm not really concerned. But I got kind of comfortable. And I got kind of comfortable with my home situation too. So I've been going out and going to church with an usher that I met at church. I've been going out with him a lot. He is in his 70s. He doesn't have any children, and he's a nice, sweet, caring person. And I think he gets lonely. But anyways, I've just been by myself, and I don't like to ask too much and inconvenience people, but he's been taking me to every church and other places, and he let me use his washing machine. It was very nice. Anyways, yesterday he had given me a little bit of money, and I was out of food, so I was gonna bike downtown by the highway, and find something to eat, and then come back. And something had happened to him, so I guess I'll cover this in the same video. He called me that afternoon and basically said he took his car in for an oil change, and then the dealership said that there was a lot of other well, not a lot, there was a few other problems, like a tire rod or a sensor or something, and it was going to be $1,100 to fix. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he had just went out to eat, and so he's like, you need a ride to go get some food? And I said, actually I was going to bike this day. I'm going to bike. I will call you when I get back. Since you've already eaten, I'm going to just bike out, see what there is, buy something, because he gave me some money. It wasn't like $100 or anything, but he gave me some money so I could afford to buy some food. And I said, I will call you when I get back home. And that's not what happened. Anyways, I biked a couple miles down by, it's probably 2 to 3 miles, down by where you get on the freeway. And there are restaurants down there. So there's restaurants, I'm about in the middle. There's restaurants like 2 or 3 miles this way. There's restaurants like 2 or 3 miles the other way. And they're almost the exact same restaurants. But I think it's a little safer to bike this one direction. So I headed that way. And I stopped at Panera and I got a value meal and I got a cold drink. And then it was like a block away from the Goodwill, and I thought, I need some more fat shirts because I have gained some weight since this very kind old man has been feeding me sometimes, and I've been gaining some weight. And also, my other shirts were like extra, extra small, and so I was just getting like small, and then I'll get a couple medium too, because what if I want to go to the restaurant and I want something loose? So I said, I'm right here, I'm going to stop. So while my bike was parked outside, and yes, I did get more fat shirts, but while my bike was parked outside, then my tire went flat. So I think this was another attack by the kingdom of darkness, but they're only allowed to do what God lets them to. So I'm prefacing it with that, which is everything the enemy steals or destroys is going to be replaced, and we're going to get better than what was taken. So we're going to get an upgrade. So ultimately this is good. But this is not good right now. Because that was my freedom. That was my ability to just get up and go where I wanted to alone. Whenever, whatever time. Well, that is now gone. But anyways, this bicycle was bought for me by the narcissist. And while I was getting some new fat shirts, then someone came and either poked holes in my tires or sliced them or something. I know when I was in the parking lot on the way to the thrift store, it seemed like the tires were fine. And then as soon as I left, it felt like really bumpy, and I stopped like after like 10 feet or something, and I looked and the tire was flat. I had just aired these tires before I left, and they seemed to be fine on the way there. And when I left, they were really flat. And I biked through the parking lot to the Goodwill, and it seemed like my tires were perfectly fine. So I believe somebody poked or stabbed my tires while I was in the Goodwill. And also, the old man, the usher, had called me. he had called me a few minutes before I left, and I said, oh, I was about to go out and get something to eat. And that's when he offered to drive me. So people listen into my conversations. I don't know if there's bugs in my house, like actual bugs in my house listening to conversations, or if the phone is bugged. I know if the phone conversations are recorded. So they knew, oh, I'm leaving my house in just a couple minutes. And so I was followed. And this isn't just something I'm making up, because the first day I went to church, my handlebars were loosened, so they swirled around, and this was unsafe. And then, like a month later, my kickstand was loosened, so it wouldn't hold my bike up very well. Then my bike fell over, and it cracked my basket, so I couldn't put as much weight in it. And then last time I went to take my bike out, then where the gears attach, that was unscrewed, taken off. And then I put it back on, and then the gears weren't working properly. They weren't lined up correctly. And then this time, the next time I take it out, then the tires are flat. So the last time I went to ride my bike, the gear line was just off. And then this time, the tires were popped. Or actually just the rear tire. But this bike is not easy to service. It's got guards around the tires, and you basically have to like spend an hour taking things off to even get to the tire. It's not an easy fix, and they might charge me $100 to put a used tire on at the bike repair shop. I don't have that kind of money, but at this point, like, I'm not gonna fix it. I know that the Kingdom of Darkness is allowed. They are allowed to damage my bike. They are allowed to break my bike and just cause trouble, because this bicycle was bought for me by my ex-narcissist, and everything he got me has to be taken away. The same thing just happened with my trash can. Everything that was paid for by the narcissist through a joint account, or that he got me, has to be taken away. And the thing is, I don't have a replacement yet. And I don't have money to go out and buy a replacement. I have a credit card, but I have to be able to afford the minimum payment, and I don't know. At some point, I'm not going to be able to. So anyways, I kind of thought, as soon as I started riding this bike, I didn't like the history attached to this bicycle. How the narcissist bought this incredibly expensive, nice bike. I begged him not to buy it because I just wanted to get something cheap. He bought it. And then basically he hung it from the garage and hoarded around it so I could never use it. There was like a shrine to my bike for 15 years, so I couldn't use it. And then finally I got it here, and I didn't like remembering that and knowing it was connected to the narcissist. But it was my means of transportation, especially once my car has not been working properly. So for a long time, I just ordered DoorDash, and I didn't go out. And then I was happy to get my bike fixed and ride that around for a while. Got the tires aired up. But, yeah, last time I took it into the bike shop, the guy was really busy. There was a lot of bicycles in the shop. And I said, well, can you fix a kickstand? He fixed a kickstand real quick in just a matter of like 10 seconds. And then he said, if you need to have the gears fixed, you'll need to leave it here overnight. And I couldn't do that. I didn't want to walk a mile back to my house. So I'm like, okay, I said, if I can't fix it myself, then I'll bring it back. But he did fix my kickstand, and that was good, because it could not fall over quite as easily when I propped it up. Anyways, that was the last time. And so if I invest money trying to fix this, then it's probably just going to get messed with again. So I think I need a whole new bike. And this is kind of like my trash can. And I think the usher, he's an angel. He actually is an angel. But, and he keeps making hints. Like, I already got it. I already know. Okay. The first time you said it, I already suspected it anyways. Of course I suspected that from the first time that I met him, because there were things that he was able to spiritually discern, and I was able to spiritually discern without even speaking. However, he has been giving information to the Kingdom of Darkness, which is used against me. So that looks like he's a traitor, but actually I don't think so. I think that these are tests and things that God wants me to do, if that makes sense. But anyways, he forwards things I say, and then it gets to other people, and then I hear from them. So I know they're spying on me, and I think he is giving them information about me. But that actually might not be a bad thing. But his car is getting tampered with, my bike is getting tampered with, and he has been driving me around. So now anytime I have to go somewhere, he's going to have to take me. And actually, this is related to my trash can. So I didn't buy this trash can myself. I got a new trash can for this house. I had just got some of these nice Rubbermaid trash cans for my old house, and they matched that house and they fit in that house. So when I left, they were stained, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to charge a new trash can since I'm leaving these other two, and that's no big deal. No, it was a big deal, and it had to go. So right after the narcissist and I separated, they said they would pay for my groceries for a short period of time. Now, half the time the card was turned off, but half the time the card was on. So this one time I ran into the hardware store and I just bought a step-on trash can. It wasn't like $100. It was just a medium quality. It wasn't $20 either, because I've got dogs. I just got like a normal, nice Rubbermaid step-on trash can. But it wasn't like the more expensive ones. But then the dogs would knock this over occasionally. And then I went to the hardware store and bought bricks and put bricks in it. And then they were still knocking it over. I had like 10 pounds of bricks in there. And this was difficult. And then I was putting bags in it, and there was hardly any trash like in it at all, and they were still knocking it over. So I think the usher is involved. I think the old man is involved in this as well, but that's because I'm not allowed to have this trash can. So I actually went and charged it another one. I think he said, oh, I got some trash bags for you. And then a couple weeks later, he brings over, it's like a few trash bags. It's maybe 5 or something. And he had also brought over some like meat. It was from a local butcher. So it's not factory farmed, and these animals are not abused. I think they might even be grass-fed. So I would eat that. And these bags might have been in the same like plastic bag. They might have been brought over at the same time as this lunch meat, I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that maybe he rubbed some of this meat onto the bags on purpose. So the dogs would keep knocking my trash can over and over and over and over again. So what I'm saying is, the spiritual rules are that I am not allowed to keep the trash can that was paid for by my ex-narcissist. I understand that. The way they go about alerting me of this is actually very physical, giving me some trash bags. It probably had a little meat rubbed on them, so that even when the bag was empty, my dogs would keep knocking over my trash can. But I know what this means. They're not going to use supernatural means if they don't have to. So anyways, we went to the hardware store to look at floor tile and also to look at a trash can. Walked right past the trash cans, and there it is. The elite version of my trash can. So I had a Rubbermaid step-on trash can. And then there they had, it was, it said it was 12-gallon too, but it must be like 20-gallon. The size is understated. And it doesn't taper in at the bottom. It was bigger, more substantial, but still would fit in my space. And it was the elite rubber, so only the best. God is restoring us with only the best. But I had to pay for this. I had to charge it on the credit card. Went in and saw it, and so yeah, it was like the same brand as my old trash can, but it was the elite version instead of the regular version. So God restored that, but actually I had to pay for it, and I charged it on the credit card. So I'm thinking, okay, this is the bike too. Just everything I'm not allowed to have. Something like some weird sign happens, or I keep getting in trouble, and then my bike will keep getting tampered with. I know what this means. The bike has to go. So if someone wants to buy my Pashley, now the tire is flat in the back. And I hope someone does, because I actually am in debt. But anyways, I just asked if someone had an extra bike they weren't using, but it has to be for someone about 5 foot tall, because I am not I'm not like some trapeze artist or something. I can't be sitting like wobbling back and forth on a seat. Like, I have to be able to stand on the ground, like, when I stop. I'm not a good enough cyclist to have a higher seat. My seat actually needs to be the right height, so this does make it a little difficult. And I also don't like these new bikes. They have like giant seats. I think they're made for people that are 400 pounds. And they have really big tubing, which is aluminum. They have to make it wider because it's aluminum. My old bike was a steel frame. So the steel frame looks nicer. It looks very classy. But it was purchased for me by the narcissist. I hope somebody decides to purchase it because I could use that money to pay off some of my debt or to buy a different bike, a used bike, I don't know. But as long as it's the right size, if somebody had a bike they weren't using, I don't care if it's step through, I don't care if it has the high bar. I would probably prefer 10 speed. I had a 3 speed before. That's fine, as long as it works. And it was not purchased for me by a narcissist at this point. So that's what happened. And I was getting out and I was like kind of in a good mood. I went to Panera. The food was good. The woman who checked me out was nice. And then I was even thinking of maybe stopping at Walmart, possibly, and just grabbing like a frozen meal too. But that did not happen because as soon as I went to leave the thrift store, my bike tire was flat. So I had to walk 3 miles. I had to walk 3 miles home. And I saw a few cops here and there. They don't do anything. They're corrupt as well. And this is also part of my life plan. It's all spiritual. God's in control. It would have done no good if I contacted the police. What, file a report that someone popped my tires, but I didn't see it? No, they're not going to do anything. So I just, I thought about it for a second. I got on it, I rode it like 5 or 10 feet, and then I stopped. I didn't want to damage it. And I'm like, okay. And at that point, like, I got a little bit, and I want to say stressed, I got a little bit concerned, like, oh, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. Well, not in the middle of nowhere. I'm all the way by the freeway. I'm like 3 miles from my house. I've got this bag of stuff from Goodwill, and my bike is not rideable. What am I going to do? I thought about it for a minute, and I saw another person in the parking lot with a vehicle that maybe could have taken me, but it was close. It might have been too small. And then I thought about it, and this is some stranger I don't know. And they might have been sent there by the kingdom of darkness as well. I don't know. They could have been an agent for the kingdom of darkness, or they could have been a neutral person. I did not get the feeling like I should ask them for help, but it went through my mind like I could ask them to drop me off, but I didn't. Now I'm thinking if somebody was following me and popped my tires, then maybe they had someone in the parking lot with a vehicle that a bike might fit in, just waiting as I left. And they were right there in the car, and I had an opportunity to ask them, and I did not. So then I got just a little stressed. It wasn't that stressed, and I just thought about it for a few seconds, and I looked at that car, and I did not go and ask the person. I did not go back into Goodwill. I did not ask to file a police report. I just grabbed my bike, and I just started walking home. So I walked my bike back. It took a couple hours. Nobody pulled over. Nobody asked to help, as usual. This is the rule too, is I would have to approach someone and ask for help. That's how this works. But I did not do that. I'm like, you know what? I have walked all day long before, so this really is not even that difficult for me. It's just, instead of it taking 15 minutes to get home, it took a couple hours, essentially. And I could have ran. I didn't want to. That wouldn't be fun. So I just walked at a normal pace, and I just walked home. And on the way home, as I got close to my street, there were a couple of people at the end of the street, and I thought the older man looked like the guy from Restore, so I was paying attention. And then there was a younger man, and he had the top of a street sign, like where the X, where the two signs intersect. And then I walked up there and I said, well, what's with that sign? And he said, they're giving it away for free. And it was my street intersected with another street. And apparently they're putting new signs in, so they were just going to throw these away. And I said, do you mind if I have this street sign? Like, because there was two on there. And one of them was where I lived. And because I live on the street. And he said, well, no, I work here and I want to keep it. So then he took the sign and got nervous. And then he went over and kept trying to hide it. And he went over into the construction area. And he was like walking around and sitting. And I was watching him. I was watching him on my bike. Because I didn't think it was very polite how he handled it. He could have said, well, I do want this sign if you could not take it. No, he didn't. He acted like real weird and nervous and then went to try to hide it. And I watched him. And then he tried to like put it under a truck. And I watched him a few minutes and I think he saw I was there. And I just kind of waited a few minutes. And then I just left. And apparently he either didn't have a vehicle with him then or he was still busy or something. So he wanted to come back and get it later. So then I still had like more than a mile to get home at this point. I'd walked a couple miles. I had like a mile and a half maybe left, or a mile and a fourth. And then I just started walking down my street. I was now on my street, but I remembered about that sign, and the sign was free. It was going to be thrown away. And I'm like, well, maybe this is why, because my bike was going to be tampered with no matter what. But why was it tampered with this day? Okay. And also another strange thing is I crossed Main Street. Okay, I don't live on Main Street, but every single town has a Main Street, so I'm not giving anything away. As I passed Main Street, there was an ambulance, and there were tanks. There were military vehicles. Like, this stuff, like, seriously, this stuff is all planned. Like, my life, it's like the Truman Show. It is seriously the Truman Show. And as I go towards Main Street, then there's an ambulance, a tank, and another cargo van like mine, but it's army green. Like, they don't make, normally, my van, it's like the white van. All the white service vans. So the same kind you see everywhere, but I have the 07. And this looked like the 07, but it was army green, and it was following a tank, or maybe it was like a military SUV that looked a little bit like a tank, if that makes sense. It wasn't actually a tank. It was larger than an SUV, and it was shaped kind of like a tank, and it was army green, and behind it was a van, like my van, looked just like my van, except for it was fatigue like army green. And then they headed down Main Street. Like, how weird is this? And it was really loud. I was like, oh my goodness. So I wasn't going to go. I didn't think I was going to go down Main Street, but I definitely didn't then. But I did take a peek, like, what's going on? Is there something there they're trying to keep me away from or keep me from seeing? This actually happens, and this has happened before, last year when I went to the fair. As I was kept from going into Walmart, supernaturally. And then I just thought, okay, I better leave at that point, and I left. But as I was leaving, a bunch of cops swarmed and their sirens were going. And I know that if I had tried to go into Walmart, they were going to try to arrest me and prevent me from going inside, or at least stop me and talk to me. So I left. And I knew when I saw them that was to stop me. Here was another thing. On that street were all of those sirens, these military vehicles, and a fire truck. It sounded like an ambulance siren. Anyways, then all of this stuff is planned, and I see the guy with the sign, and he's being all suspicious and keeps trying to hide it, like, because he didn't want me to get it. Well, anyways, then I called the usher, because I said I was going to call him. I said I was going to call him when I got back. Well, now it was like 9:30 at night, so I left at like 5. This is how long it took to get home, and I did stop, like, and watch the sign guy for a little bit. But anyways, this is how long it took to get back. And I said, do you still want to come over for an hour or two? It's late. And I said, oh, my tires popped. He didn't really seem concerned. And then when he got there, and I said, yeah, my tire was flat. And then he was like, well, where were you? I'm like, oh, it's all the way down by the freeway. Like, there's like 2 or 3 miles away. So it took. And I said, that's why I was packed so late. And then I told him, you mind if we go somewhere real quick? And I said I couldn't tell him anything because what I say in my phone calls are monitored. So I told him to head towards where the sign was. And it was dark now. So then I went to that little area at the end of my street, and I was looking for the free sign that they were going to throw away because the guy had tried to hide it under a truck. Well, I had my flashlight and I looked all around. He probably had already gotten the sign, and maybe that wasn't good of me to try to take it from him. That's true. I probably shouldn't. I thought maybe that's not good. But then why did I want this sign? Why was that said right in front of me and I saw it on my way back? This was all planned. And that sign was gone. So maybe he put it inside of a building. Maybe he came back later and picked it up in his vehicle. That was gone. And I just looked around, and then there was a couple other signs, and they were no good. I didn't want like a public parking sign or a free parking or a paid parking sign. I didn't want that. But then I did find a really cool sign just in the dirt, and it was taken off. It had been removed from the pole. So it was just the sign was taken off, and it was covered in mud. They were going to throw it away. I was told they were throwing these away, and this one just said like stop, no entry or something. So then I took that sign, and I believe it was right next to a dumpster to be thrown away, as they had finished construction here. And why would God have me walk right past that and tell me that they were throwing these away and they were free? And this man tried to take it with him, but he didn't have his car right there, so he probably didn't want to like take this on the bus or something and it looked bad, or maybe take it back into the office. I don't know, but he probably already got it. Maybe that was not good. This was like one of the shiftiest things, but I kind of thought it was like a fun little mission to try to get back there and try to find the sign. But I walked all around the perimeter with my flashlight and I didn't see it. He probably already came back and got it. But the thing is, there is a sign, there's a sign also on my street a few blocks down that there was a storm sent, and it rotated that sign, and now it's facing the wrong way. It's on my street too, so they might be replacing that. And hopefully if they replace that, I'll get the sign. I hope so. Now maybe I won't, but a long time ago I did reclaim my street for God and the kingdom. I reclaim my street for the kingdom of God. And so strange is that those old signs are coming down and new signs are coming up. So who knows? Maybe I shouldn't have the sign. Maybe there is something in the sign, some type of technology, or maybe it's got like a little signal transmitting device, or it's like a tower. It receives information or something. I don't know if this is related to ley lines. And if they take those down and put new ones up, maybe they're not going to be advancing the kingdom of darkness. This sounds wild, but it's not. They've got like tiny little microchips, smaller than a grain of rice, that are so cheap they put them in all the merchandise to see what people steal and what leaves the store, and they can automatically reorder it. So it's not strange to say there might possibly be something in a street sign that costs thousands of dollars. There might possibly be some type of technology in that. It would be very simple to do, especially on a ley line. You have a street that's got a lot of important government buildings. So if they take that sign down, then either it's because it's for me, and that sign got swiveled because the kingdom of darkness was trying to attack me and they failed. So I've got history with that sign. I hope I get that sign. But either way, maybe I won't get the sign, but it's drawing attention to the sign and making me think about it. I didn't think about this before, and now I am. I did not think about this before, is that those signs are somehow related to the spirits, and the spirits on my street, and the information being sent back and forth on my street. Is the signs somehow are important, and maybe they're like little towers, that boost signal. I don't know. I don't know how this works. That's just one theory. There's probably 5 other things that I could say right now and sound like a lunatic. But those poles go deep down into the ground. And so it would be really easy to put a little transmitting device on that. This is not wild. I mean, they hide cameras in the light posts. They record people. There's microphones in them. This isn't the worst idea. They catch criminals, but I don't think we want to live in a surveillance state either. I mean, they use the cell phones to track people and to send police after people. They check our social media, so, it's used for good and bad. And why wouldn't they also use Why wouldn't they also use street signs? The government puts them in. You think the government might not want to do something else with these signs other than alert us where to turn? Yeah, I think they do. And actually, if they weren't doing something else with this at this point, I think it would be strange. So anyways, I'm going to keep an eye out. So maybe reclaiming my street for God. Now, they are taking down all the old street signs and putting in new ones. And possibly they could use technology that would help God's kingdom. So maybe there's some type of signal or frequency that repels demons, like they don't like high vibration. This is what I'm saying. This could because like all the alcoholics and drunks live on my street. Who knows what type of technology is in these signs, to where almost everyone on my street is an alcoholic or a drug addict. And what if they swap these out and make them high vibrational, so it repels those people and it makes you happy? I don't know. So, a lot happened, and we hung out for a bit. We talked about my reunion, which I'll cover separately. I am class of 2000, just had my 25th reunion, so that is another video. So we talked about that, mentioned a few other things, because I know he can spiritually discern, and I'm trying to figure out some stuff, but he doesn't tell me much. He'll basically just confirm what I say. So, but anyways, I have no bicycle and no transportation, and now whenever I want to go someplace, I have to call the usher at the church to take me, and this makes me feel bad. It's kind of convenient, and I like the air conditioning, but at the same time, I do also sometimes like to go out by myself and have a little freedom, and I also don't want to just ask too much from someone either. That makes me feel bad. I don't want to be a user, but I've been put in this situation to where I almost have to be, because everything I had has been stripped away. There's a dog right here. Okay, thanks for watching. God bless you.